Well, the family of the accused Long Island serial killer made an emotional return to their home after investigators spent days there tearing apart the deck, excavating the yard, and doing a deep search for evidence. Rex Heuermann's estranged wife screamed at reporters, "Don't talk to me." She filed for divorce just last week. The suspect's adult stepson was seen crying on the front porch. We're also learning that Heuermann's family has not been to see him in jail. We want to bring in now NewsNation contributor and former CIA officer and FBI Special Agent Tracy Walder. Tracy, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
Let's start with the hair of Rex Heuermann's wife being found on 3 of the victims. What do you make of this fact?
I mean, look, this is what we would call probably a DNA slam dunk for prosecutors. But really, this was sort of the nail in the coffin and what ultimately led them to Heuermann in this case. You find that hair. The hair, was able to be found as a match to his wife. And then looking at the pizza crust and seeing who else lived in the house. And so I do think that that hair was a very critical piece of evidence. But I also think, too, just in looking at this case in general, several pieces of evidence were also missed very early on, like descriptions of his vehicle in 2012 that were not further looked into. And so I think there are several things I see here, but the hair is obviously incredibly important.
I really am so glad you brought that up because that a specific account was from a roommate of one of the victims. I know that you are always abundantly fair to investigators and how difficult a case like this is, especially when hundreds, if not thousands, of tips are pouring in. But in your opinion, was this a missed opportunity when they had this tip, a description of a man, and also that white Chevy Avalanche all of these years ago?
In short, Natasha, yes. And I believe it was the roommate of Amber Costello in this case. And so I think, yes, I do feel that that was a missed opportunity. But we also have to look at who the chief of the Suffolk County Police was at this point in time. He was someone that was very combative with other agencies becoming involved in the case. He's since been arrested on other crimes. I'm certainly not giving them a pass. No law enforcement agency is perfect, but I absolutely believe that this was a missed opportunity. And quite frankly, maybe he killed more people and was on the loose for longer as a result of this. So yes, I absolutely believe it was missed.
I appreciate you bringing up those stakes because they are high. We're talking about the family reportedly not visiting him in jail. His wife is seeking a divorce. What is the likelihood that family members will even testify against him? And with her hair on the victims, is there any chance that she may face any accessory charges?
Personally, obviously, I can't say exactly what case they are mounting right now. I don't believe that she will be facing any charges. It looks like in terms of the windows of time in which these crimes were committed, she was physically not in the country. And so really what we're looking at here is transfer DNA, right? His wife's DNA would be expected to be in the house. Same with his daughter, same with his stepson. So it wouldn't be unexpected to necessarily find that kind of transfer onto one of these victims. And so I don't think, that's just my personal opinion, that she's being looked at as a suspect right now. And quite frankly, I think as time goes by, if she becomes angry enough, she may testify against him. I don't want to completely rule that out.
Okay, Tracy Walder, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
On Monday, make sure to join us for a special live town hall edition of Cuomo, focused on crime in America. Chris will host live audience from across the country, giving viewers their chance to put questions to people in power. Don't miss it. Tune in Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern, right here on NewsNation. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.